Hello and welcome to Mager Media. I am Binyam Ambacho and I'm your host for Mager English program. Today, we will be discussing the newly formed Amhara People's Negotiation Delegation to promote inclusive negotiation to end the war in northern Ethiopia and ensure lasting peace and stability in the Horn of Africa and the wider region. My guest today is our very own courageous and visionary leader, Mr. Theodros Terfe. Mr. Theodros is the chairman of the Amhara Association of America, also known as AAA, and the president of the Federation of Amharas in North America, also known as FANA. Mr. Theodros, on behalf of Mager Media staff, it's an honor and a privilege to be with you, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Biniam, I want to thank you for inviting me to be on this program today and talk about really a very, very important topic right now to the Amhara people, Ethiopia, the broader Horn, and really the international community. So thank you for having me on your program today.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure with you. Thank you so much, Teddy. Please stay with us and join the conversation, and we'll return after a short break. Welcome back to all of you. So today we will be covering the details regarding the historical milestone that led to the creation of the Amhara's People's Negotiation Delegation, which consists of a list of Amhara representatives that will negotiate at the African Union-led peace talks to end the war in northern Ethiopia. Mr. Theodros, the Amhara Association of America, which you chairman, this past Friday on October 21st, 2022, released the official letter titled Introduction of the Amhara's People's Negotiation Delegation to promote inclusive negotiations to end the war in northern Ethiopia and ensure lasting peace and stability in the wider region. This letter was sent to many of the United States and European Special Envoy to the Horn of Africa, as well as the African Union mediators and the United Nations elected officials. The letter also outlined 4 Amhara representatives, Dr. Wendosen Asafa Hailemariam, Dr. Desalegn Chani Danyo, General Tafara Mamo, and you, Mr. Theodros, that are ready to be deployed and willing to participate in the African Union-led peace negotiation. In addition, although AAA initiated the process of this delegation consists of a broader delegation of more than 40 Amhara leaders from different segments of Amhara society, serving on the committee to support this leadership. Can you describe how this Amhara delegation was formed and reveal the historical milestone and significance of this delegation, and how the Amhara movements in Ethiopia, as well as in the diaspora, paved the way for the formation of this Amhara delegation?
Biniam, that's really a loaded question here, and I'll try to unpack this as much as I can. The Amhara movement has come a long way since it was started in 2016, and Amharas began organizing across the globe to bring about Amhara issues onto the global stage. The Amhara concerns that were being voiced by Amharas in Ethiopia are really actually, they were voiceless and didn't have that opportunity. And many of the Amhara organizations in the diaspora took it up in themselves to be that voice and to ensure that the Amhara genocide was known to the broader international community. Mm-hmm. Since then, as you know, that there have been Amhara organizations formed all across the globe. Now, when it fast forward, to where we are right now, this, in terms of like the formation of the Amhara People's negotiation delegation. How it came about is really, is a culmination of a lot of factors. First, prior to this letter being sent to the various special envoys from the US, EU, the UN, the UK, and also the African Union, and including Uhuru Kenyatta and the South African delegate, the Amhara organizations here in the diaspora have been having an active conversation with the State Department about the negotiation. In 2021, I believe it was November of 2021, the AAA team had a meeting with Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary Herb Masinga about the specific topic and demanding the inclusion of Amharas in any peace process, and that Amharas are independent actors in this war, and Amhara should be included. That followed a few months later, a meeting between, again, Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of Masinga and leaders of many Amhara organizations here in the United States, demanding for the inclusion of Amharas in the negotiation. This is while the war was active. And on July 1st, AAA issued a statement demanding that for Amharas to be included in any peace process. And this was after the African Union-led process was really kicking off. And to say that if we want to have lasting peace, that all actors must be represented. It must be an inclusive process. It must include Amharas, it must include Eritreans, and also including the civil society to ensure justice and accountability. That followed with a letter to all the special envoys from 28 Amhara organizations here in the diaspora and also in Ethiopia, to all the special envoys requesting and demanding for the inclusion of Amhara. So this has been, the formation of the Amhara People's Negotiation Delegation really is a culmination of all of these events. So, and as an organization, we decided to, begin the process a few months ago to establish this delegation. We contacted every major Amhara organization here in the diaspora, in the US, in Canada, and in Europe, in Australia, and New Zealand, and also in Ethiopia. We contacted the civic organizations, the Amhara opposition political parties, Amhara-centric medias, and also active activists to gauge their view on this negotiation, on the war, and how to proceed forward. And everyone across the board believe that Amhara should be represented and that we should form a delegation. Mm-hmm. From that conversation, from all of those meetings, the Amhara People's Negotiation Delegation was established, with the leadership being General Tafara Mamo, Dr. Wendowasan Asafa, Dr. Desalegn Chande, and myself to lead this delegation. But as you said, there are over 40 Amhara leaders across the globe, from Ethiopia to the diaspora, that are part of this process to support this effort, that are being named, and they were presented, and this delegation was presented to the special envoys. So this is a culmination of a lot of hard work from many people. This is really the work of the Amhara movement, not any single entity. And I'm really proud to be part of this team and to be part of this delegation and to represent the Amhara people. This is an historical moment. Mm-hmm. The Amhara movement is meeting its historical obligation to ensure that Amharas are represented in any negotiation that deals with Amharas. As everyone knows, the issues at the end of the day that the TPLF and the Prosperity Party would be negotiating are Amhara issues. The issue of Raya is an Amhara issue. The issue of Wolkite Amhara identity is an Amhara issue. The issue of justice and accountability for Amhara genocide, not just since Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came into power, but over the past 30 years, when the TPLF imposed this ethnic apartheid system, is an Amhara issue. This ethnic apartheid system, constitution, is an Amhara issue. The future of Ethiopia is an Amhara issue. The future of this region is an Amhara issue. So it makes no sense for the two parties, the Prosperity Party and the Tigray People's Liberation Party, who are complicit in Amhara genocide, to be negotiating on Amhara issues. There are other actors as well, as I said earlier, and they should be also part of this process. So it is a historical moment. I'm proud to be part of this initiative. I am proud to work with and contribute with all these 40 other people who are part of this process. And it is a historical moment. And I am, overwhelmed by the response from the public, the positive response from the public, and it shows that this is a huge progress in the Amhara movement.
Thank you so much, Theodorus, for that wonderful overview. It is truly a culmination of movements of Amharas from the I Am Fano movement globally, as well as the protests in Ethiopia, even in the diaspora in the United States, as well as in Europe. We are seeing the result of that movement shaping the formation of this delegation for all Amharas, to say this delegation actually represents me, and it's an amazing work, and we definitely value and appreciate your hard work as well, Mr. Theodorus.
And just to add to that, this is the culmination of the sacrifice of millions of people over the to get to the point to where we can have the Amhara people's negotiation delegation. And a lot of people have sacrificed for this. We have lost millions of Amharas over the past 30 years. Tens of thousands have been tortured. Tens of thousands have been jailed. And to get to this point, it is a progress. It is something that all of us should rejoice and be proud of.
Absolutely, absolutely. You briefly touched upon this in your previous comment. At the core of the international community failure is the flawed belief that the conflict has taken place between two opposing actors, the government of Ethiopia and the TPLF, when in reality, there have been many independent stakeholders, the largest and heavily impacted being the Amhara people. Can you explain to our viewers why this flawed belief is wrong and how Abiy's Prosperity Party doesn't have the support, the mandate, and the legitimacy to represent Amharas in any shape or form?
That's true. As we have been saying, that there are many actors in this conflict, independent actors. The special envoys, the international community in general, has a naive perspective and understanding of this conflict. They think it is between the Ethiopian government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, when in actuality, it's not really the Ethiopian government, it is the Prosperity Party that is the governing body, and the TPLF, but also other actors that are involved, the Amhara people, the Afari people, and the Eritrean government. And really, an additional actor is this really that should be involved and engaged is also civil society. But the main actors and the group that is the most impacted in this conflict is the Amhara people. The interest of the Amhara people is different from the interest of the Prosperity Party. Number one, as you said, the Prosperity Party does not have the legitimacy or the mandate to represent Amhara interests. First, these people that have been selected by the Prosperity Party to negotiate with the TPLF are complicit in the Amhara genocide. Not only under Abiy administration, these are the same people that were complicit in the Amhara genocide under the TPLF, when the TPLF was the ruling party over the past 30 years. Same people, different party. Same people, different hats. That's number one. In addition, the Prosperity Party is only interested staying in power. That's it. That's their main goal. The Amhara people's interest is vastly different. Part of the reason why the Amhara people picked up their arms and fought and organized themselves as Fanos is, number one, is to survive. The TPLF invaded the Amhara region. The Amhara people had no option but to pick up arms and respond to that invasion and defend themselves and protect themselves from this invasion. When the TPLF came into the Amhara region, thousands of Amhara civilians were massacred. Thousands of Amhara women were raped. Billions of dollars worth of civilian infrastructure was destroyed. The Amhara people had to respond to this attack. They also had another reason to respond to this attack, and that is to free the lands and the people of Walqait and Raya. This is something that the Amhara people have been fighting for nearly 30 years, and they accomplished that, and they did that. The TPLF, when they came into power in the 1990s, they imposed this ethnic apartheid system to establish Tigray hegemony. The Abiy administration, which is really ruled by the Oromo Prosperity Party, do not have any ideological differences with the TPLF. They believe in this ethnic apartheid system, and Abiy Ahmed and his Oromo Prosperity Party are using the same system to establish Oromo hegemony. The negotiation is not over, over accountability and justice. The negotiation is really over power, and for the Prosperity Party to save themselves and stay in power. We cannot, let's be honest here and let's be frank. How can we really truly believe that these two parties, the TPLF and the Prosperity Party, who are complicit in Amhara genocide, who are complicit in committing gross human rights atrocities against all Ethiopians of various ethnic groups, can truly be hold anyone accountable? They are the ones who have committed injustice. How can they bring justice? They can't. If anything, they will try to give each other clemency. So that is why we feel it is imperative that the Amhara people be at the table to negotiate their interests, and they have a lot of interest. And if the international community, which has really imposed this process, is really interested in having a lasting peace in Ethiopia and the broader Horn, that they should ensure that the Amhara people are at that table, or else no outcome can be seen as credible, legitimate, or binding. Amhara people would not view it that way. So that is why we feel that the Amhara people should be at that negotiation table, and the leaders across the globe have come together to establish the Amhara people's negotiation delegation, and they should rightly be at that table negotiating their interests and also Ethiopia and the broader Horn. And we believe we will get there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tedros. Just going off the last point you made, there's a statement in the letter that kind of stood out to me personally, and that is, it declares that, let it be known now that this delegation has been organized and there's no longer any reason for international actors to hesitate in promising inclusion of Amharas in the negotiation process. And it also states that Amharas will not abide by any outcome of a negotiation process from which they are excluded. This is a fundamental and a strong statement from this letter. Can you just elaborate a little bit on this statement and help us understand what this statement means?
Miriam, when the TPLF went to power in the 1990s, the negotiation was really essentially between the TPLF and the Oromo Liberation Front. The Amharas were not represented. Right now, thankfully, because of the sacrifice of millions of Amharas, the Amhara people are now organized. And the Amhara people have established the Amhara People's Negotiation Delegation and have presented this delegation before the international community, all of the special envoys, and the African Union. So there is no reason for the Amhara people to be excluded from this process. And so this is really a historical achievement. We have, we have really honored our historical objective. Now, if the international community decides to not include the Amhara people in this negotiation, then we do not have to abide by the outcome of this of the settlement between the two parties who are complicit and responsible for Amhara genocide. We don't have to be. So this is something that we are recording. This is something that is historical, and this is something that we have made it known to the State Department, to the European Union, and also to the UK Special Envoys. And I think this is the historical significance. And the Amhara people has spoken up. There's no reason why Amhara should be excluded from this process. And so that's why we were very clear and deliberate in that letter.
Absolutely. It is definitely a very powerful and deliberate statement. And I personally really, that statement really stood out to me. Lastly, what can we expect from the established delegation? What is the next step? And can you also discuss what can the Amhara community in the diaspora, as well as in Ethiopia, do to contribute and strengthen this delegation and support in any way that they can?
First, as I said earlier, the establishment of this delegation has received immense positive response from the Amhara community, immense positive response. And this is something that the Amhara community was waiting for, and the leaders from the Amhara movement have delivered. So the next step for this delegation and all of us that are working together on this is to continue to make the case for the inclusion of the Amhara people in this delegation in the peace process by engaging with all the international actors, which we are actively doing. We're actively communicating with the State Department as we speak, and all the other relevant actors. What we need the broader Amhara community to do is support this initiative. Support this initiative by making phone calls to, if they're in the diaspora here in the US, Canada, the European Union, by contacting their representatives and demanding that the Amhara people's negotiation delegation have a seat at the table. By being active in social media and supporting this effort in this initiative. The delegation is doing its part. We are actively communicating, as I said. We are explaining and making the case by going onto the medias, and we believe through hard work and effort and the sacrifice that's being made by many people that we will achieve our objective. I can't underscore really the importance of this delegation and how hard this delegation has been working. We are meeting every day, strategizing, planning, contacting, and reaching out. And as you can see, the response has been overwhelming by the public. But what we want people to do is be engaged, be active, support this effort, and make your voice be heard, make your voice be known. And if we can do that, then this is the way to end the Amhara genocide. There's an ongoing Amhara genocide that's going on, and the only way this Amhara genocide can stop is if all of us can come together, united, and demand that this stop. And we can do that by all of us playing our role. And everyone has a role to play here. Everyone can contribute. Everyone can donate. And what's really inspiring is that we're seeing a level of energy and engagement that we have not seen, from this movement, and it's really inspiring.
Absolutely, it is definitely very inspiring. I want to take this time, Mr. Theodros, to thank you for being with us, for also giving us an in-depth analysis and the significance of the newly formed Amhara People's Negotiation Delegation. This delegation has the full support and trust of the Amhara people, and it is the result of the unwavering Amhara protest, advocacy, and just the overall movement around the world that led to this historical formation. And I truly believe that it will represent all Amhara's and Ethiopia's interest at full capacity. And thank you to our beloved Migrant Media family members for watching. You can visit migrantmedia.com and Migrant Media YouTube channel to rewatch today's episode. I want to give a brief moment for Mr. Theodorus, if you have any last remaining statements that you want to make, or any statements that you want to clarify. I want to give you this opportunity.
Thank you, Miriam. One thing that I want to say to the Amhara people is to be patient. We have seen, negotiation take many, many months, many years. So, we are going to work very hard to be part of this process, but to be very, very, very patient. Our people have suffered for over 30 years under the brutal regime of the TPLF, and now under the brutal regime of the Abiy Ahmed and Prosperity Party. But, the future for Amharas, we believe, is bright. We are very optimistic because the Amhara movement is growing, and more Amharas are coming into this movement and contributing. And that is really something that, inspires and motivates us to work very, very hard. I cannot, it's really, I'm really very proud to be part of a team that includes General Tafara Mamo, someone who led the Amhara Special Forces, to fight and to remove the TPLF from the Amhara region. This man is someone who did that, someone who's put his life on the line. This man is living with bullets in his body right now.
Yeah.
Dr. Wendasan Asafa, him and his team that have worked, underground to bring all the finals together under one umbrella. This is an incredible man. And this is a man that was, put in jail with his group for doing something, to defend Amharas. Dr. Desalegn Chane, one of the, founders and the first chairman of the national movement of Amhara, an opposition political party, and he's also a member of parliament. And in his capacity, has readily brought up the issue of Amhara genocide and also the issues of Raya and Walgait to the forefront, challenging the Prosperity Party, and also all the other delegates that are part of this Amhara People's Negotiation Delegation. So I'm really proud to be part of this, and I want the Amhara people to know that these people are really working hard for them, and that they deserve their support, and to please support this this delegation. But be patient. This is a long process, but the future is bright for Amharas. The future is really, really bright, and you should be optimistic, even though sometimes what we see on our smartphones, what we see on YouTube is something that is really disheartening and depressing. But there are really people working hard and sacrificing, and you're part of that. Many of the people who are the migrant audience are contributing to that. So please continue to contribute and do your part. And there are brighter days ahead. So that's really all that I have to say. And thank you for having me on your program today.
Thank you so much, Theodorus. Absolutely. Be hopeful, and brighter days are ahead. And thank you for coming to this show and giving us an overview of the negotiation process. And thank you again for our Amhara Media family members for watching. And until we meet again, take care.